Australia's feeling the effects of climate change more than any other developed country in the world. And we're seeing it firsthand, whether it's extreme heat to bushfires more intense than we've ever seen before, to floods and the rainfall. Importantly, here in Australia, we have some world-leading technology at our disposal. I think we've got a really important part to play into the insights and what we do to really change the world to be able to address climate change. Telstra is Australia's largest telecommunications company, and very proudly we've been serving Australians for more than 100 years. So we connect Australia coast to coast. East to west, that's about a bit over 4,000 kilometres, and our networks reach 99% of the population. We connect Australia, and that takes a lot of power. In fact, we're the 13th largest Scope 2 emitter in the country. And so in terms of the role we play, there's the role we play in reducing our own carbon footprint as a company. Some examples of that. Firstly, we've invested about $1 billion supporting renewable energy projects here in the country. And that includes most recently signing a power purchase agreement with the largest wind farm in southeast Queensland. Secondly, we're focused on reducing our own emissions, and that's through things like looking at our air conditioning, looking at our consumption of power at our various sites. And then I think most importantly, the role we can play, helping enable our customers. How do they reduce their emissions? We can play an important role in the transition to a low carbon future.
Telstra as a telco exists in over 20 countries around the world. So we have an opportunity with our products and services to make a real impact to emissions. In Australia, we have an ambition to reduce emissions by 43% by 2030 against the 2005 baseline. So Deloitte found that we can help our customers avoid 7 times our own emissions by 2030. That's the equivalent of avoiding 4.3 million tonnes of emissions per year, or the equivalent, which gets me super excited, of 1.3 million cars off Australia's roads. So by using technology, products and offerings, we think we can help those customers make a real impact. So let me use a few examples, in particular in our digital technologies. Cloud computing. Cloud computing is incredibly more efficient than on-premise computing. In fact, cloud computing can reduce up to 80% of emissions versus on-premise computing. IoT, we're applying it to mines, factories, utilities, to create efficiency, to track their resources, track their operations, and make a real impact to how they're executing. Farming, again, we're tracking resources and their operations, including down to the animals themselves in those instances, to help that be a more efficient operations and reduce emissions. Telematics we're using in the transport industry to help maintenance and driver efficiency. We're applying that to some of the world's largest business problems. So an example of this is we've partnered with FarmBot, an Australian agri-tech business. They specialise in monitoring of water-based assets. So that helps farmers manage their assets remotely, such as pipes, dams, troughs, etc. Makes them more efficient. They don't need to visit those sites as often as they used to. We send real-time alerts to their phone or tablet or other device and enable them to manage these assets and manage their farms more efficiently and less travel and less commuting across their properties. So it's these sorts of technologies where we're partnering as a telecommunications and technology provider to help farmers in Australia reduce their emissions.
The Carbon Farm is essentially an experiment. And it's an experiment where we trial different technologies, and we do that to see if we can create ways to remove carbon from the atmosphere, store carbon from the atmosphere, but also reforest land and create carbon offsets in the process. We plan to plant around 160,000 native trees, and that should allow us to store around 160,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide over the 25 years of the project.
150 years ago, this place on the New South Wales tablelands was a forest. It was heavily cleared to become a sheep station, and in 2022, Telstra bought the farm with a plan to return it to a permanent forest state. Instead of allowing food waste to go into landfill where it rots and creates methane, we team up with a company called Bardi, who processes that food waste by allowing maggots to feast upon it. That creates an insect-based food source, but also a probiotic fertiliser. We take that maggot feces product and create a seed bomb. That seed pod gets delivered via a targeted drone delivery system as an automated method of planting a forest. It's been great working with Airseed on this project. We've got a lot of hilly regions, rocky regions where conventional planting is not viable. And so an automated method of dropping seed bombs from the sky was particularly suited to this initiative. We see an increasing role for technology in planting, weeding, monitoring and verification. Apart from getting hotter, Australia's been ravaged by the loss of biodiversity. Projects like this establish biodiversity corridors for the protection of native fauna like wallaroos and wallabies. This project is an example of the nature-based solutions that will be a critical part of the global solution to climate change.
Australia is a country of really vast and beautiful places, and a country that has many valuable natural assets in it. Our actions and the way we've managed the country has led to really quite dramatic habitat loss and species loss, to the point where some of our really iconic species are now becoming extinct. Our Telstra Foundation has partnered with a number of different organisations. And one of the more recent projects that we've engaged with is with the leading Australian science agency, the CSIRO, and a First Nations agency, NAILSMA, the North Australian Indigenous Land and Sea Management Alliance. One of the programs is the Healthy Country AI program, and we've co-designed the program that trains local Indigenous rangers and trains them to use drones and other technology to manage the land, including monitoring the way in which feral animals can destroy local waterholes. These programs are really exciting. They're exciting because they take ancient knowledge continuing to this day and combine it with modern day science and technology to find solutions to really tackle this challenge of habitat and species loss, and doing so in some of the most remote parts of the world.
At Telstra, our purpose is all about creating a connected future so everyone can thrive. And I truly believe for us to face into climate change and solve it, technology is going to play an incredibly important part. And so our role in that, it is absolutely using our voice to advocate for change. It's absolutely in the actions we're taking directly to reduce the impact we're having on the environment. I think when you bring the power of technology together with the will to want to change the world, we can absolutely look forward to a much brighter and more sustainable future.